Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of the New College Mindset. I'm your host, Jerica. How do you build a good relationship with your professor? That's what we're going to be talking about today. It's the beginning of the college school year, and you're probably right now, as we're talking, right, trying to figure out how to build a good relationship with your professor so that you can get the most out of your class. At least that's what you're telling everybody. But in your mind, you're also thinking, okay, I got to build this relationship so that when I need a curve on a grade or a curve on a test, I have the highest probability of getting it. And all those reasons are good. There's no shaming here at the New College Mindset. We have 4 tips, and then stay around to the end because we have a bonus tip as well. So let's get started. So when you're trying to build a good relationship with your professor, what do? I want you to imagine inviting someone into your home every Tuesday at 3 p.m. And instead of one person, let's make it 2 people, right? And they come and they go, and they never once say hi or thank you. How would you feel? You would feel hecka weird, right? Because these 2 people are in your house. They are lounging on your couch. They're eating your Trader Joe's cookies, right? Your Trader Joe's cookies, or those Trader Joe's cookies with the ice cream in the middle. Those are the best. If you know, you know. And these people don't say hi. And now I want you to up that number from 2 people in your house to 300 people coming in and out of your home. And you guessed it, right? This is a normal college classroom. And in this scenario, how many people from these 300 people come and say hi, right? Come and introduce themselves to the person running the class. Maybe you think 200 people. Nope, keep going down. 100 people, keep going. 50, keep going. It's usually around like 30 or less. And you're probably thinking, no, that's just not possible. Go and ask your professors, right? People are not introducing themselves these days. And so my tip number 1 for building a good relationship with your professor is to introduce yourself. If at all possible, in the first few weeks or the first day, stay after class and chat just a few moments with your professor just to say your name, maybe something else, so that the professor can learn something about you. And I know sometimes right now it might be hard, like to meet right after class. So if you need to go and send an email to them or something like that, totally do that. But I just want you to understand, number 1, if you're trying to have a good relationship with your professor, you need to introduce yourself. And the reason is when that professor looks out and sees those 300 people, you're not just going to be a number anymore. You're going to have a name. You're going to have a face. And that is where the relationship building begins. Number 2, be respectful of your professor. And I'm not saying it like a parent or a dictator, like be respectful. You gotta be respectful, or some grandpa. I don't know why I use that voice, but whatever. We're going to go with it, right? What does it look like to be respectful as a student, and in this context, as a student in college? Well, it can mean coming to class on time, right? Actively participating in class. And then when you say you can't come, right, you actually send a message or an email letting them know, hey, I had a doctor's appointment or whatever it is. And so I want you to be that person that says thank you, right? The person that is respectful. Trust me, if you do these things, the professor is going to notice, and that relationship will continue to be built like building blocks, right? Now, tip number 3. Tip number 3 requires us to go back to that wonderful classroom with 300 students. And I want you to imagine that professor saying these words: come to office hours and tutoring. Maybe you don't even have to imagine your professor saying that, right? Because your professor is saying that right now, and they said it to you maybe before you watch this video. So why don't you go? Why don't you go to office hours and tutoring? Maybe you're thinking what I'm about to say right now. You're thinking, hey, this professor has no interest in getting to know me. Or maybe you're thinking something like, this professor is meeting with so many students. If I show up, there's not going to be any space for them to get to know me, and it's going to be really weird. Well, what I'm going to tell you right now is what's going to happen, or what normally happens 95% of the time, when the student gets the courage to go and meet with their professor. So they get up, they go, let's go, right? We go into that big building where the professor is. We go inside, we go to the hallway, and you immediately hear silence, absolute silence. And you're like, oh, I thought it would be popping with students, lots of students in the hallways, right? Because you imagined that 300 students would be there. You get down to the hallway, and either You knock on the door and the professor is startled, or you knock on the door and there's like 2 or 3 people in the office or for the tutoring session, and the professor says, "Oh my goodness, I'm so excited that you're here. You're the first student that's visited me all semester." Or they say, "Hey, you're like the third student that's visited me all semester." The point is, all 300 students are not coming to office hours and tutoring. So that is tip number 3 for building a good relationship with your professor. Go to office hours and tutoring, because believe you me, right? Students are not doing it. They're just not doing it. And so research has proven if you go to office hours and tutoring, you do your homework faster, you get better grades. And I don't know if you've heard the saying, like, favor ain't fair. I don't know if you heard that, but favor ain't fair happens in this scenario, because usually the students that go to office hours and tutoring, they can get actual paid internships that the professor knows. They will pick those students to do those things, or paid job opportunities that the professor knows. Like, jobs might reach out and say, "Hey, do you have any students?" And they're like, "Yeah, the ones that came to office hours and tutoring, those are the ones I'm going to send." So favor ain't fair, right? And we want you to be in favor, right? Have the favor of your professor. And so that is tip number 3. Go to office hours and tutoring. Go to both. Don't just pick one, go to both. Tip number 4. Now, we have a bonus tip, but tip number 4, keep written communication with your professor professional. This means try to refrain from using their first name. So if the professor is like Dr. LaShawn, don't send the email to "Dear LaShawn." No, Dr. LaShawn, they earned that doctor, right? So your written communication should have if they're a doctor in their email, right? Or refrain from like making the email full of complaints or demanding they respond quickly. I mean, like, people do that. Like, "Hey, I sent you this email. I need you to respond super quickly." Like, people have lives, right? Let them process. Don't demand, of your professor, right? I always say, if it's like going to be an intense email or something that could cause like angst, right? Have someone trusted review your emails. And this is something you can take with you into the future, right? I'm still learning professional email etiquette. It's the unwritten rule. As a first and second gen student, right? There's so many rules that we have to learn. And one of them is the email stuff, right? The written communication. Okay, congratulations on making it to the bonus tip. This is the bonus tip, and this is arguably actually the most important tip. So let's get into it. Okay, so you've built a good relationship with your professor. Why? Because you did 1 through 4. What's left? Well, I want you to ask for a letter of recommendation. I'm going to say it again. Ask for a letter of recommendation. Asking for a letter of recommendation is something that a professor will write to discuss all of your strengths. And if you've done 1 through 4, they've been able to see you, you're getting good grades in class, right? You are a hard worker, all those things they can write about in your letter of recommendation. Why is this important? Because this letter of recommendation, you're going to attach to scholarships, right? You're going to attach to job applications and to internship applications. And this is what's going to seal the deal. And what I want to let you know is, as first and second gen students, I know we have a little bit of imposter syndrome sometimes, right? But there are so many unworthy students asking for letters of recommendation. And I'm like, why are you asking? You didn't do much of anything. But the people that have done something are not asking. So I want you to be the person that asks. Read my lips. If you don't remember anything else in this conversation we're having, right? You and me, right? Ask for a letter of recommendation. Ask, ask, ask. Do it, do it, do it. Letter of recommendation. Check. Done. I want you to be successful. That's the list, guys. I love your feedback below. We are a community. So if you have additional things that you found that help you build a good relationship with your professor, send it in the comments, write it in the chat. Most importantly, I want you to get out there and build those relationships with your professor and share this with a friend. Talk to you soon. Bye.